Welcome back to The Explainer. So, have you ever looked at a wildly successful business and just thought, man, how on earth did they come up with that? It's a fascinating question, right? A lot of times, we kind of assume entrepreneurship is just waiting around for this singular, magical eureka moment, like a cartoon light bulb is suddenly flicking on. But honestly, the reality is way more structured and, I think, a lot more interesting. Today, we're going to completely demystify how successful business ventures are actually born. We're going to use this funnel approach, starting super wide and ruthlessly filtering our way down, so you can see the exact process of identifying, generating, and ultimately selecting a viable business opportunity. Okay, so here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover spotting emerging business trends, the elements of good ideas, where ideas actually come from, proven idea generation techniques, and finally, screening for viable opportunities. Before we start hunting for ideas, we have to pin down exactly what our target even is. What is the actual meaning of a business opportunity? Well, it's not just some random, clever shower thought. A true business opportunity is a favorable situation that arises specifically from an unmet market need or a deprivation. It's a direct response to a gap. Whenever you hear people expressing a problem, a frustration, or a lack of something, they are literally handing you a business opportunity on a silver platter. All right, Section 1, Spotting Emerging Business Trends. Let's start at the very top of our funnel by looking at the broad macro movements out there. To find a great opportunity, you've got to know which way the wind is blowing, right? And right now, there are 7 major areas just overflowing with potential. You've got the green trend, which is huge, driven by consumers who are actually willing to pay a premium for eco-friendly stuff. You have the massive health trend, the Internet of Things connecting everyday objects, and the mobile trend completely revolutionizing how we interact and buy things. Catching the very beginning of any of these emerging trends can give your new venture an absolutely massive tailwind. What's super cool is seeing how these giant abstract trends turn into real-world cash flows. Take the wearable trend. As microprocessors got tiny, companies like Fitbit capitalized on body monitoring. Or consider the payments trend, where platforms like Paytm just exploded to handle massive volumes of digital transactions. Even the maker movement, where everyday people create and market stuff without a giant corporate backer, led to some wild innovations. People literally started selling DIY USB phone chargers like the Minty Boost, made out of simple Altoids tins and batteries. I mean, talk about a trend perfectly converted into an opportunity. Moving right along to Section 2, Elements of Good Ideas. We're moving down the funnel now, from global trends to the actual anatomy of a solid concept. So what makes an idea inherently good? To really anchor this, we use the highly practical IDEAS acronym. This breaks down the exact elements needed to take a concept from a passing thought to a workable solution. First, the I, identification of the opportunity. D is designing it into a working prototype. E means it has to be exclusive or have a unique edge over the competition. A is acceptable to your target segment of society, and S is satisfying their specific needs. Like if people want to stay fit, opening a local gym directly satisfies that societal problem. Your idea is really only good if it checks every single one of these boxes. Section 3, Where do ideas come from? Now that we know what a good one looks like, where do we actually mine for them? Spoiler alert, you don't just sit in an empty room and wait for inspiration to strike. You actually have 2 massive pools to draw from. You can look at internal sources, so tapping directly into formal corporate R&D, or by empowering intrapreneurs, which are basically employees who act like entrepreneurs inside a company. Or you can look at external sources. Think about your distribution network, your dealers, wholesalers, retailers. They have incredible proximity to the customer. They know exactly what people are complaining about. Trade fairs and external channel partners are just absolute gold mines for new concepts. And seeing external sources in action is wild. Just improving an existing product is a massive source of new ideas. Think about data storage for a second. It evolved from physical, super clunky floppy disks to CDs to tiny little memory cards, all the way up to virtual storage like iCloud and Google Drive. You can also find ideas hiding in plain sight in trade publications. For instance, the Laghu Udyog Samachar magazine in India specifically helps identify business ideas. Plus, simply analyzing your competitors and spotting their weaknesses is another fantastic external trigger. All right, Section 4, Proven Idea Generation Techniques. Pushing even further down our funnel, let's talk about the actual mental tools you can use. If you have the sources, how do you extract the ideas? Well, these are your active mining tools. You've got classic brainstorming, a totally judgment-free zone aimed at pure volume. You have mind mapping, which is a much more visual approach to connecting themes.
Then there's the heuristic ideation technique, or HIT, which is fascinating. It actually forces you to explore different existing product features and just jam them together into weird, new combinations. And don't forget free association, where you rely on a serial stream of consciousness. One word triggers the next until you stumble upon a completely novel concept. Okay, let's dive into one of the absolute most powerful acronyms in any entrepreneur's toolkit: SCAMPER. When you're stuck staring at a product and trying to innovate, this activity-based thinking process is essential for the new product development phase. Scamper basically forces you to ask a series of really provocative questions. Can you substitute a material? Can you combine two different features into one? Can you adapt it to a totally new situation? Or modify its size or price? What if you put it to another use entirely? Can you eliminate a non-essential costly step? Or rearrange the components into a different order? By systematically running an existing concept through these 7 filters, you can completely revolutionize it. Which brings us to Section 5, screening for viable opportunities. We've generated this massive list of ideas, and now we reach the tightest part of the funnel. This is the ruthless elimination process, the screening and scanning of business ideas. And this first hurdle is the attractiveness and ability check. For an idea to become a successful venture, it actually has to be attractive to you, the entrepreneur. One of the critical factors of new venture development is asking, do I actually enjoy the core work? If you completely lack the skills to undertake it and you aren't willing to get the training, the venture is going to stall out, period. It doesn't matter how great the market looks. If it's not practical for you personally, it does not pass the screen. Next, you have to face market reality. A good idea simply doesn't exist in a vacuum. You've got to ask yourself, can I actually combat the existing competition? Can I differentiate my product or service in a meaningful way? And honestly, more importantly, can that differentiation be sustained over a long period of time? If your only unique advantage is something a massive competitor can just copy by next Tuesday, you need to seriously rethink your strategy. Finally, we look at the ultimate arbiter, demand and price potential. Is the market actually willing to pull out their wallets and buy this? There is literally no point in investing in something that cannot stimulate real demand. Furthermore, can you avoid competing simply on price? Because if your entire business model relies on just being the cheapest option out there, you're inviting a race to the bottom price war, which is an absolute disaster for long-term survival. If an idea fails this test, it goes straight in the trash. And just like that, we've reached the end of our funnel. We've gone all the way from massive global trends down to a tightly screened, highly viable business opportunity. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this really provocative thought from our sources. It points out that the vast majority of successful entrepreneurs do not actually invent something entirely unseen. Nope, they succeed through the exceptional execution of ordinary ideas. So, my question to you, are you sitting around waiting for a magical, unprecedented concept to just fall from the sky, or are you ready to take an ordinary idea, push it through this funnel, and execute it exceptionally well? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.